To order at 9:34. The approval of the agenda. I believe you have a package of two addendum to this agenda. So that under item 7A, we have a briefing from Melissa Cruz and Paul Robertson. And under item 8D, we will need to discuss this supplementary report before the report on 752 King, and the reasons will be given by the department when we get that far. Are there any other changes to the printed agenda? Seeing none, looking for a mover for the amended agenda. Bridget, Councillor Doherty, Don Taylor. Discussion. Those in favour, those opposed, you have an agenda. Confirmation of the minutes of April 17. You have printed, do you all have the sheet? This sheet?
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry. So we have a sheet which says that the first two sentences in paragraph 2 on page 3, that is the one starting Ms. McFarlane should say, Ms. McFarlane stated that all existing windows except the front dormers seem to have equal divided lights. She stated that the new dormer windows should be 2/2, and when replacement is necessary, the other front dormers could be 2/2. And that would replace what really is the second paragraph in the report there. The other change, the other addition we would like to make is at the bottom of that page. After great discussion of what oil canning is, we thought we should add in brackets wrinkling, so that we remember in however many years' time when we go back what oil canning was. Are there any other changes need to be made to those minutes? Seeing none then, need a mover from somebody who was at the meeting. William, and seconder. Matthew, thank you. Further discussion? Those in favour, those opposed, you have a set of amended minutes. Pecuniary interest disclosures? Seeing none. Presentations? No presentations. So we go on to briefings. Melissa Cruz, Paul Robertson is over there talking on the Civic Museum's year-end report. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Every year, the Cultural Heritage Team brings forward an annual report highlighting the programming and exhibitions of the City Museum. So that includes the McLaughlin Woodworking Museum, the Pump House Museum, City Hall National Historic Site, as well as we report on the Civic Artifact Collection. The attached report comes along with this is quite long. It's nearly 30 pages. So I wanted to introduce the report to you today in order to highlight some accomplishments from the 2018 season, pulling on some high-level information, and briefly outlining how we're moving forward in 2019, as well as beyond that. In 2018, we identified 3 central priorities. The first is continuing to implement a program-based operation at the McLaughlin Woodworking Museum that emphasizes experiences and learning through hands-on history. The second is the continuing migration of collection records into the new Civic Collections database software called Proficio. The third is applying interpretation and programming updates across all sites with a focus on delivering high-caliber experiences and programs that foster relevance and the growth of core audiences. So just an accessibility snapshot. Our team always strives to make the city museums as accessible as possible by recognizing and removing barriers whenever possible. So this past year, City Hall tour guidebooks were available in English, French, Mandarin, German, and Spanish. All Aboard for the Holidays, which is an amazing event we have at the Pump House, worked with Autism Ontario to deliver their very first sensory-friendly Sunday program. So it was a really amazing opportunity for us to partner with Autism Ontario, and it was a closed event. I'll get into it a little bit further, but it was really, really lovely. City Hall tours are free for all visitors year-round. The city's participated in the library passes, so that means that anyone who has a library card can go in and they're able to come to our sites for free. We offer free nights, free Thursday evening programmings throughout the summer at both the McLaughlin and the Pump House. And the city museums participate in the Municipal Financial Assistance Program, or MFAP. As well, all of our exhibitions are offered in both official languages. This past year, we saw a really amazing 46% growth in revenue between 2017 and 2018, so that's really phenomenal. And along with that, obviously we saw an increase in our visitation. So there was a 17% growth in site and programming engagement between 2017 and 2018. And last year we had 34,774 people visit our museums. Out of that number, nearly 19,000 came through City Hall National Historic Site. And we're really excited to continue to grow our offerings at City Hall through extended interpretation, Heritage Resource Center lecture series, as well as educational programs. Our tour guide program continues to be exceptionally popular, welcoming people from across the world. In 2018, we had individuals visit from over 55 countries. In what we call sort of our off-season, so once we sort of get into the winter months, we're continuing to see local visitation grow year after year, and that's something that our curatorial teams helps to support when our fantastic tour guides are unavailable. This is just a really lovely testimonial from TripAdvisor. The original waterfront building has great history and has been well preserved for the public to view. It helps you, if you have a tour guide, as we did, to explain everything to you as you tour through the building. It's another landmark that you should take in when visiting this wonderful city. So something else we like to always talk to you people about is our civic collection. So our civic collection contains more than 25,000 objects. Within that number includes 87 pieces of public art, as well as 139 works of what we class as fine art. 2018 was a very exciting year for our civic collection as we acquired Proficio, which is an integrated cloud-based collections management software. So the latter half of 2018 saw a massive data migration, which included updating and creating artifact records and updating details. So this is a project that is ongoing, and it's expected to take several years to complete, as each and every one of those 25,000 objects has an associated record that needs to be reviewed and updated as necessary. And then moving on to the Pump House. So this is a really lovely testimonial. We went to this museum mainly for the Leonardo da Vinci exhibit, which was absolutely brilliant. We learned so much in such a short period of time. They even had a local carpenter make some of the inventions. Staff were lovely and only too happy to demonstrate the inventions and talk about them. The actual museum is interesting as well, so both the exhibit and the museum, so that's really lovely. Just this is a snapshot of Leonardo da Vinci, Relentless Curiosity, which was the 2018 exhibition that we presented. It was an extremely professional exhibit that was curated by the very newly formed Cultural Heritage Curatorial Team. The exhibit made use of loaned objects from Kingston museums, and we also had a really impressive array of models that you can see here that were based on designs by Leonardo da Vinci that were actually created by a local craftsman, Tim Soper. And what was really lovely is we were actually able to translate Tim's involvement in the exhibit into an HRC lecture, which turned out really, really well and had amazing attendance. While I have your attention about the Pump House, I'll talk to you about our current exhibit. So these are a few images I have of our installation. So it just recently opened last month. The exhibit is Ontario Street, Brewers, Bakers, and Boilermakers, 1830 to 1970. The exhibit explores the history of Ontario Street as a stage for community change and transformation. It tells an impressive selection of Kingston stories using a fantastic assortment of artifacts, both from the Civic Collection, as well as loaned objects from local museums like the Agnes Etherington Art Centre, but also larger institutions like the Canadian Museum of History. If you have an opportunity to see it, it's up until November 23rd, and I recommend you check it out. At the Pump House, we don't just do exhibits. We also have some pretty amazing programs as well. These are just two that I'm going to highlight for you here. Trains and Tots is an immensely popular program that's spec'd for children aged 0 to 24 months. It helps caregivers and gives caregivers an opportunity to connect with their young children through developmentally appropriate activities. In 2018, we saw nearly 300 participants in this program. We also have Fortnight, which is a really amazing free drop-in program that we offer on Thursday evenings throughout the summer. Each group that comes on site is given a Fort bundle that includes materials as well as a STEAM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math-based challenge. In 2018, we saw about 220 participants in this program, and we just run it through summer months, so it's really popular. And then special events at the Pump House. We started offering some interesting new pilot project events this past year, so Leo After Hours is an example of one of those. It's a program or event that was aimed at bringing in more of an adult audience. So it's called Leo After Hours, and it included lectures and just things that are a little bit more adult themed rather than children themed. We had about 80 participants through that program, and we're actually sort of using that momentum that we sort of created that audience this year, and we're pulling that through into 2019. And then as well, our All Aboard for the Holidays event continues to be exceptionally popular. We had over 1,000 people attend, and as well, we always give our visitors the option to pay for admission with a new unwrapped toy for the toy drive. So this past year, we were able to donate 11 large bags of toys to the toy drive in lieu of admission. This was also the event that I mentioned earlier, where we partnered with Autism Ontario to offer a sensory-friendly Sunday morning. As well, building off of that Leo After Hours, they did an All Aboard After Hours, which was a 19-plus event that featured live music, gift-making stations, a gingerbread house competition, and we had over 35 people participate in that event. And then our other fantastic museum is the McLaughlin Woodworking Museum. So this is a really beautiful testimonial that wraps everything up really nicely in a nice bow. So this summer, the museum changed the way you can visit, offering many more workshops and activities for all ages. You no longer pay an entry fee, but you have an opportunity to buy a lumber kit at the museum and then you go into the workshop and build it while staff are on hand to advise if you need help. A great activity with kids, and you can still browse through the traditional exhibits too. Bring a picnic, because after you finish the museum, you can head to Grass Creek Park and enjoy the playground. So this is a really fantastic testimonial that really beautifully sums up the trajectory that we're going with McLaughlin. So like the testimonial mentioned, we this past year took our largest exhibition space and actually turned it into a workshop with 10 workstations that can accommodate up to two adults working on them at all times. And because of that, we were able to offer 15 workshops, and they offer everything from, we do everything from charcuterie boards to, we had this really phenomenal youth-based woodworking program that builds swords and shields, which we've got an amazing picture of. And that program was actually so popular that we've actually had to double, if not triple, our offering of it for 2019. We have wait lists and that sort of thing, so we're really, really excited about that space. And then touching on lumber kits. So lumber kits is really a beautiful way to facilitate the idea of hands-on history that we're trying to really push with the McLaughlin. And the idea is you come into the museum, we have an assortment of these kits that are available for varying levels they're all at different price points, and you can come in as a family, you can purchase a kit, and then you go into our workshop space where our staff are there to help you build together and get your hands on history. We have had as well in recent, once we came into sort of the December months, we actually had people requesting to purchase these as Christmas gifts as well, which was really, really lovely to see that we were able to sort of continue that momentum at the home. And then special events at the McLaughlin. This past year we had Lego Inventioneers. It's the second time we ran it out at the McLaughlin, but it started at the Pump House, and then we had it go to the McLaughlin. And 141 people attended. This was a really amazing sort of other STEAM-based event that we have. And as well, we were able to partner with the Tech and Tinker trailer from Queen's University. We were able to partner with Queen's Let's Talk Science, the Canadian Modeling Association of Meccano, as well as Bricks for Kids. So it's a really amazing opportunity to make some community connections and actually get people out to the site when it's actually shut down for regular visitation. As well, this 2018 saw the 7th annual Winter Light event, which took place on December 1st. It offers crafting and activities for visitors of all ages. I should know, I made about 400 wreaths that day. It was great. We partnered with some amazing community groups as well, so the Kingston Field Naturalists, the Kingston Frontenac Public Library, the Kingston Woodturners, and many more. Similarly to the Pump House, this event also offers the opportunity to bring a new unwrapped toy in lieu of admission, and that event saw 9 large bags of toys going to the toy drive. And we were able to accomplish this with our fantastic cultural heritage team, which consists of 10 full-time staff, 15 summer students, 3 part-time staffs, as well as 60 volunteers. And then looking ahead to 2019, we have 4 major priorities outlined for 2019. The first is planning for the proposed redevelopment of the Market Wing. The second is updating the Civic Collection Management Plan. The third is continuing the update of the Civic Collection software implementation and data migration. I'll just as a side note, I'll say I'm happy to report that we've had almost 2,800 records reviewed and modified thus far. It may not sound like a lot when compared to the 25,000 objects that we have as a whole, but we were only given access to that platform in November, so we're really, really happy with that progress, and we're looking at sort of a completion date, hopefully by 2021 for that project. And then the fourth priority that was identified is completing the public engagement portion of Your Stories, Our Histories project, as well as the development and updating of a cultural heritage strategy for the City of Kingston. Another side note for that one is that this engagement process began in September of 2018 with the Your Stories, Our Histories installation in the Sir John A. Macdonald room, located just downstairs, so if you hadn't had a chance to see it, pop down after the meeting. There you go. Any questions?
Any questions to Ms. Cruz? Yep, Councillor Doherty.
Thank you for your certainly exciting all the things that we offer in our community and all of the staff's work. It's really impressive. I was just wondering, this is just on the side, but when you're revisiting the objects, if you've had any interesting discoveries and things that you've learned from it that you didn't realize before.
Oh, we have lots of amazing, absolutely phenomenal objects. Just in the last year, I'm an art history nerd, and I had the opportunity to sort of dive into our fine art collection that we store off-site at the Agnes, and we have some exceptionally impressive works that are mind-boggling, and we're extremely lucky to have those, I will just say.
So adding to that, these 25,000 objects that we have, and you rediscover them, are you going to, that in itself is kind of a story, are you going to build a story around rediscovering?
Yes, well actually, the proposed exhibit, which Paul, if I'm saying anything I shouldn't, please let me know, is we're actually looking at doing an archaeology and collections-based exhibit next year. At the Pump House, where we're going to be looking at our impressive archaeological collection, as well as highlighting those really amazing objects that we have that we're really lucky of, and that we're constantly discovering and having the opportunity to rediscover and as well put some effort into researching them. So yes, definitely, it's on the docket.
And just to add to that, through you, Mr. Chair, that diving into the collection, which every museum has to do, and we're so pleased to have such a rich collection, but we're also discovering in those mysteries a lot of mystery items, as in why do we have them? So as part of the whole collections review, it's an important thing to do, and I'll reference it again in a minute, but it's discovering where the strengths are and also the anomalies. So who knows? It's the discovery. I didn't know how that got here, and I think a collection like a civic collection is an interesting beast in that items are often come into the category of what we call found in collection, as in they're just there.
I mean, it's like your basement.
It kind of like, yeah. So which is exciting, daunting if you can
You
imagine.
don't always have the provenance we'd like with every object.
Further, William.
Just a fantastic job, well done. You should be commended for the entire job you've done there. It's absolutely fabulous. And just wanted to ask one question. I see a large increase in 2018 under program fees. Was that because there were more programs? Or?
Yes, our programming offerings have definitely increased and are even increasing this year. To our amazing programming staff, they not only increase their offerings in regards to special events, but also in regards to the sheer number of programs that they're offering in terms of the different opportunities, but also just their increased bookings we're seeing as our core, what we call our core programmatic offerings. They're getting tightened up and they're becoming progressively more professional over the last few years. That gives our programmers the opportunity to then offer programming that correlates each year with our changing exhibits and that sort of thing. So I know they're steadily booking up this year already in regards to programming offerings. So yeah, so as sort of those processes become more professionalized and all of our bookings become more professionalized, then it's exponentially busier for them. But that also helps with revenue.
Well done. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Dan.
I'm certainly also very impressed with all the activities and workshops and so on. I don't have a question, but just a kind of comment, maybe a suggestion. I notice, particularly at the pump house, a lot of activities there only have, you might say, a minor connection with the actual machinery and so on there, and I assume those activities are there partly because it's a very convenient space for having children and so on. But I hope that staff will, in planning future workshops and things, try to bear in mind that that museum or that space really has some wonderful steam engine machinery, which not many people can see anywhere else. And we should also remember that the steam engine was really the foundation of the Industrial Revolution. And I think children, people of all ages, should be aware of that connection, should try to get some understanding of how it works and how what an impact it had on the civilization, you might say.
Nope, that's the point, and some opportunity to dive into is for this current year, we're actually in the process of updating quite a bit of our what we call our core story signage. So that includes additional interpretive panels on our water pumps. We also had a really amazing opportunity to work with Queen's University First Year Engineering Project, where we're actually looking at alternative ways to interpret the water pumps for non-engineering inclined people. But that's something that we're definitely working on, and we're definitely love to promote that idea of STEAM technology. It's a linchpin of that core story. So thank you.
Other questions? Okay, we need an approval of the recommendation.
We'll get to that separately. This is the briefing. We're not into the business yet. So.
Okay, so do we have more briefing?
No, I think that's it in terms of briefing.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Paul, for coming as well. So we go on to item 8, business. 8A1, you have a recommendation that Heritage Kingston recommend to Council that the 2018 Civic Museum's year-end report, attached to report number HK 19028 as Exhibit A, be received and approved in recognition of the role Heritage Kingston plays as an advisory committee to Council that includes oversight of the 2 city-owned museums, the McLaughlin Woodworking Museum and the Pump House Steam Museum, as well as Kingston City Hall National Historic Site and the City of Kingston Civic Collection. Looking for a mover.
So, Peter, before we do the recommendation, we do have to allow public comments.
Oh, public comments, questions?
Seeing none. Okay.
Seeing none then, looking for a mover. William, seconder. Zoe. Further discussion? Questions? Last chance? Yes, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Frank Dixon. Thank you for the presentation. Very interesting and thorough. I had one question as to whether there is an online index available of all of the items in the Civic Collection, or if you're working on that particular area. Because it's really an enormous number of items, and I really had no idea it was that large. Thanks.
Thank you. So to answer your question, because Proficio is a cloud-based software, it does give us the opportunity to eventually have our collection online. That is our intention, is to have it available eventually for public access. However, that's probably, we're looking at 2021 and beyond. Once we sort of get all of our records updated to a point that we're happy, then yes, it is our intention to have that public access or public online access to that software and to our collection. So great question.
Okay, back to the motion then. We have moved, we have seconded. We have any further questions? Seeing none, those in favour of the recommendation, those opposed, that is carried. Business 2, the Cultural Heritage Working Group approval of priority work in 2019. The report of the Commissioner is attached, page 33 to 38, and the recommendation, is anybody speaking to it? Paul, do you want to speak now? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is, in essence, a formalization of the report. I think you saw in the working group notes, the Cultural Heritage Working Group notes in April, outlining the priority work that group would like to be doing in 2019. And as you know, the Cultural Heritage Working Group, its role is to support the work of Heritage Kingston in its mandate, certainly to be advising council, and specifically looking at the work of Heritage Kingston in the area of the integrated cultural heritage and cultural tourism strategy, the commemoration policy, and the creation and review of a framework and policy for collecting, narrating, and commemoration of the Kingston story. So in summary of the priority areas that the Cultural Heritage Working Group would like to be looking at this year with Heritage Kingston's endorsement. The further work on the project Your Stories, Our Histories, which is, I think, Melissa referenced in her description of the Sir John A. Gallery downstairs, that ongoing public consultation, public engagement exercise, collecting heritage priority stories that the community feels are important in telling our story about Kingston. This, as the working group, is a stakeholder group in that project, and this would help in the development of the cultural heritage strategy ongoing. The civic recognition program, this is another area that the working group would be providing advice on. Also in the commemorations requests and Kingston Remembers plaque strategy, as the commemoration policy unfolds, if you will, in terms of public interest in it and the interest in increasing the number of commemorations in town. This is something that the Heritage Working Group, Cultural Heritage Working Group provides advice on in terms of how that is interpreted. A review of the City of Kingston Heritage and Arts Funds, something again a priority for 2019. A review of the City of Kingston Cultural Heritage and Historic Walking Tour program, which was created a number of years ago, but is up for review in this year. And as has been referenced a couple of times, the Civic Collections Management Policy Review and Updates, meaning as we as the managers, if you will, of that rich collection of civic collection of objects and works of art, its policy framework is up for review. It's been a few years. We have evolved, as Melissa described very well this morning, just the evolving playing field, if you will, of our museums world and our role within the larger city. We need to look at up-to-date ways to look after our collection, something which is relevant to us and certainly relevant to museums across the province. The request today is that the committee endorse this work plan for the Cultural Heritage Working Group, and certainly make use of the information coming from that working group in the deliberations at this table, and certainly advice going to council.
Questions? Questions? Good. Seeing none, then, you have a recommendation that the report of the Commissioner of Community Services, HK 19030, is attached, and that it is recommended to Council that the Cultural Heritage Working Group priority work for 2019 be approved as identified, and that Heritage Kingston, in its role as advisory committee to Council, reference this work as part of its annual reporting process as required as part of bylaw number 2018-205, committee bylaw. Looking for a mover, Councillor Doherty. Looking for a seconder, Jennifer. Further discussion, questions, comments? Seeing none, those in favour of, sorry, was that a fast vote? Those in favour of the approval, those opposed, that then is carried. Thank you. The update regarding paved paradise.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This report is for information purposes only for this committee, but we wanted to provide an update regarding Paved Paradise, a temporary public art exhibition installation located on Brock Street and Ontario Street. So this installation was mounted last year in 2018, and the installation design and location was developed in consultation with multiple departments, as well as this committee, to ensure the overall appropriateness. No changes have been made this year, and any sort of future changes regarding the scope of this project will be brought to Heritage Kingston for review and input. So I just have a couple of slides just to show you where this installation will be located again this year. So right now we're looking onto Brock Street from City Hall. So the installation will be along in front of the barriers there, facing City Hall. This is an example, this is a photo from last year's exhibition, and again shows the infrastructure that was created last year, which will be used again for 2019. Again, nothing has changed in terms of the materials and infrastructure that we're using, nor the location. So it will again look this way. And the only real change for 2019 is the call for submissions and how we're sort of scoping the call for local artists. So this year we have a call out which closes on Friday called Imagine Futures Pressing Times, which is a call that responds to the recent climate emergency declared by City Council, asking artists to consider our futures within this context and the urgency behind this climate emergency. That's all that I need to say, and again, there's no change in scope to this project this year, but I would welcome any comments or feedback in regards to this project.
Okay, thank you, Danica. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Yes, Councillor Doherty.
Didn't hear about this until you just said it now, and I love the sound of that. And it's important to create that connection with the City Council's declaration, and I think it will really help people. A lot of this is still about educating people, so using art to help educate the public on larger issues is really, really great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Others? Yes, Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Danica, for presentation. I had a chance to look at last year's presentation and thought it was worthwhile. It was a bit of a desolate spot there, and that brightened it up. And your point on climate change themes is interesting because we're potentially heading into a flooding situation again. We had it in 2017. And I would suggest that if there are any artists out there who have paintings and or pictures of some of the high water situations that occurred in Kingston, of which there were quite a few, there was a report that came on that from the engineering side to the ITP committee in April. But I think that would be worthwhile. Like you go along Front Road and the water is literally, you know, a few inches away from the road, and it came across in 2017, right? So that's a major street. Bell Park was flooded for most of the summer. So I think having a historical perspective on that is worthwhile. Like we were told at the time it was a 100-year high water mark, but now we're getting it again 2 years later. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Seeing none, that was for information purposes only. Thank you very, very much. Policy development, we have nothing. Heritage assets, I think we've heard about the Pump House and the McLaughlin, unless you have anything to add. Now, stat business. We then have agreed to substitute what you have on the addendum. Ryan, let's give it to you and you can explain what we're really doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to bring everyone up to speed on what we're talking about, the application that's before this committee is at what is known as the Kingston Provincial Campus, formerly the Rockwood Asylum property. It's a 120-plus acre parcel just to the west of Portsmouth Village, south side of King Street. And it has significant cultural heritage value. It is recognized as a cultural heritage landscape, both in our official plan and by the province of Ontario. The province refers to it as a provincial heritage property of provincial significance. It's also designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, and interestingly, it's one of the first designations in Ontario in 1975, actually prior to the Ontario Heritage Act, so just a bit of trivia for you. It also has a number of structures and buildings that contribute to the landscape value of this property, including the limestone former asylum building, which is the oldest purpose-built asylum in Canada, and it's also the Stone Cottage, South Cottage, the gazebo that's now behind the new Providence Care Hospital, the Leahurst Residence, the Beach Grove Infirmary, a number of outbuildings, including a stone greenhouse and storage building, and a number of landscape features on this specifically designed landscape, including the McLeod Basin, which was built in the 1860s by an inmate, a resident of the asylum, and stone steps and retaining walls. There's also a number of associative value with well-known architects, George Brown and William Coverdale, as well as the prominent lawyer in JP, Mr. Cartwright, who built the original house, which is now known as Rockwood Villa, and a couple of doctors that were progressive in their professions. The property is also a landmark and has serious contextual value as it's linked with Kingston Pen as the inmates helped build some of these buildings. So what we're looking at today is, so this is a closer view of a number of the significant buildings. The subject property, or the portion of the subject property that we're looking at today is adjacent to the Rockwood Villa. The villa was built in 1841, and adjacent to it is a number of retaining walls. So there's 2 retaining walls currently, and the applicants are proposing to have put an application in initially to restore and repoint what we're calling retaining wall 1, which is the northern one adjacent to the parking lot, and to actually build a new retaining wall in place of the crumbling retaining wall, which is referred to as retaining wall 2, just to the south. So these are pictures of retaining wall 1, and I'll just walk through quickly the application as it still remains unchanged for retaining wall 1, which is to repoint and repair this entire retaining wall using as much of the reclaimed stone as possible and replacing what needs to be replaced. This end pillar that you see in sort of the center of the screen will need to be disassembled and rebuilt in its same configuration. The iron or steel guard along the top currently only extends to the staircase, which was adjacent to the parking, but the applicants are proposing to now extend that to the full length of the building or structure to match and in a matching configuration to what's there. So as I said, so that has remained unchanged. Initially, they had also put an application in to reconstruct this lack of a better term, wall, which is holding up the hill coming down towards the greenhouse you can see to the left, and there's a storage building actually just to the right. I was informed yesterday that the applicant's clients, Infrastructure Ontario, on behalf of the province of Ontario, have decided to withdraw that portion of the application at this time. So they will not be proceeding and have asked that that actually be removed from the motion before this committee and the recommendation of staff. So that is what the supplementary report speaks to. Included in the report is an updated plan, which is essentially the same plan that the committee has seen before, with this retaining wall number 2 removed from the plans. So the work that is presented, submitted for retaining wall 1 remains unchanged. This particular wall was actually built in 2001 through a heritage permit through this committee, reviewed and council approved. It replaced an earlier wall that I understand was in the state of actively falling down when they replaced it. And it is substantial. It is actually a concrete structure that is clad in limestone, similar to what was initially proposed for retaining wall 2, but it is now in need of some attention. So in terms of our review, limestone construction on the buildings on this property are significant cultural heritage value. These retaining walls are included as important character-defining features of this property, and they are of provincial significance, and it's a popular public walking trail and space, and these walls contribute to that. So the proposed works to repair and restore these structures will improve their functionality and their longevity, and help to conserve the picturesque qualities of this landscape. We did circulate this application to the usual parties. Building permit is required for certain aspects of this work. Our forestry division recommended that any trees that are to be removed as part of this construction are to be replaced in kind, as well as the landscaping to be reinstated. This application, of course, was circulated to the committee. We received no concerns from committee members. There was a question raised about the type of mortar choice, and that was provided to the applicants, who provided a response on that, and it's summarized in the report. So just to try to alleviate the confusion a little bit, Mr. Chair, I have shown the original motion in red. It shows the changes. And then this is the motion that we're presenting at this point, and we're happy to take questions. Thank you.
So we're going to follow the regular procedure to look at this one. So committee members, comments, questions? Matthew?
So, I mean, I guess it's not really because they've taken out wall section 2, but I thought it was really odd how the existing wall it's not really a wall, it's just like a bunch of stone laid on edge to deal with soil erosion. And then they were just gonna build a whole new wall and change the aesthetic with not really any historic precedent whatsoever. And like, I thought that was strange. It doesn't really matter anymore because they're not doing it. But that seemed to fly under the radar. I thought it was really strange. Anyways, just to keep everybody on their toes, look out for that sort of stuff. Because it's a totally different wall. So, anyways, thank you.
Ryan, do you know if it was once a wall? No, okay. Well, I thought, I've got to try everything on you. I rarely get a shake of a head from you as well, remember. Other questions, comments, thoughts? Done?
It's just a comment that I kind of regret that the application for the second wall is being removed. If it went through and were approved, it doesn't mean that anything has to happen. So they could be quietly ignored if they don't have the money to do it. And in fact, if it is approved, then there'd be some incentive for them to come back and try to do the job within the a couple year time limit of the application. So just a comment that I would prefer that it not be removed.
Point well made. The applicant wanted it removed.
Exactly, Mr. Chair. I actually raised that exact point with the applicants, and their response was, well, just for the committee's benefit, a heritage permit is good for 3 years, and if the applicant chooses to extend that permit, if they're actually planning to proceed and they're actively working on it, staff have the director of planning has a delegated authority to extend it for an additional year. So there was that option. I provided that to the proponents, and their response is that they're not sure in the future if the scope of this wall will remain as what is presented. I mean, as the member mentioned, it is a brand new structure, and it was something that they had designed to sort of reflect the existing one, but that may not be what the next government or the next tender is envisioning. So for clarity's sake, they would like to just remove it from the record at this point and come back to us in the future if and when they decide to proceed.
Further comments, questions? Councillor Doherty?
This is kind of a question, not really about the motion, but just you mentioned the wall number 1 was built in 2001. That's only 18 years ago. Is it normal that it needs repairs, like only 18 years later? Is it?
It does seem like a short period of time for a stone wall. I agree. I'm not a mason. I'm afraid I can't really respond from the technicalities of that, Mr. Chair, but that certainly came to mind, yes.
So I guess, are we making sure that what we're approving is the right material so that it kind of lasts properly a long time?
I don't remember that coming through the committee, and Don, you don't remember it either. Anyway, we don't know the answer to that one. Yeah. Other questions, comments from the committee? Seeing none from the public.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Was there rationale provided as to the cancellation of the renovation of the second wall? Was it a cost concern? And if so, was the cost ever identified? I'm just wondering if maybe some funding could be found for that somewhere. It looks like it's in very poor shape, right? And I don't know if there's any safety concerns with that being there like that. If it was created to fulfill a function, it's really not doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only rationale I received from the applicants is in the supplementary report. They note that it is due to the cost. And just to quote, it says, due to the anticipated construction costs, Infrastructure Ontario has opted not to proceed with the demolition and reconstruction of retaining wall 2 at this time, unquote. That was the rationale I got. No, they did not share the cost with us, nor do they need to. Is it a safety concern? I'm not certain, but we could certainly look into that, I suppose.
Okay, the motion then is to approve the motion as printed on the addendum, i.e. without the item 3, the dismantling and reconstruction, etc. Yep.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yep, please do.
Sorry, this is where the clerk comes in and explaining the minutia. So there will be 2 votes happening sort of in process. The one vote that will be happening now is to basically substitute the recommendation that's presented in the addendum into the actual agenda, and then a second vote will have to happen to actually approve the heritage permit. So your first vote is just saying that you would be, in theory, approving the switching of the recommendations, and then a second vote will happen where you would be actually granting the heritage permit based on the conditions. Does that make sense? People follow? Okay, good. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chair.
And how do you want that first motion worded? That Heritage Kingston approve the...
It would, honestly, the simplest way would just be say that the motion as presented in the addendum. I don't want to make you have to read everything out.
Okay, so then the motion will be then that the motion as presented in the addendum dated May 15 be approved as printed. Looking for a mover? Matthew. Looking for a seconder? William, thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, those in favour? Those opposed? Okay, now we have the motion in the official set of documents. We need a motion now to approve. And again, it's the motion without item 3, moved by Matthew, seconded by Don. Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, those in favour, those opposed, and that is carried. You think we're okay and legal?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we go on to the working group reports, the Heritage Properties Committee Working Group, which is... We don't have one, do we? That's right. No working group reports. So we go right down to emergency approvals, of which I gather there are none. Motions, notices of motion, and other business. And I've got 3 other businesses. The first one being a question to Ryan or Greg about Bill 108, and what sort of plans do you have for getting input, discussion, or anything on the changes to the Heritage Act, if any yet?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, we sat in on a conference call with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport, specifically regarding the proposed changes to the Heritage Act, only Monday, this 2 days ago. The bill is in its early stages. It is available on the Environmental Bill Registry website. Sorry, I can send you the link to that. And they are accepting comments until the 1st of June. I think we'll be providing further detail on the specifics of this to come. But I can certainly pass around the information I have to the committee members at this point if you're interested.
Okay, thank you. And you're welcome to ask questions, but I suggest there aren't any answers yet. It's fascinating, the comments. Don and I have been following this through, and there are about 4 or 5 published comments on the bill now, all of which say, we're not quite sure what it actually means, and there's a legal one, and so on. So if you can keep us up to date, that'd be great. Don, you had a question on the review committee.
I think a question for Mr. Newman. I think in March, Councillor Neal asked for an update on the progress of the review of this committee, and I think the response was maybe in May. So I'm asking, I think, on behalf of the committee, what's the status of the city's review of this committee?
Who wants to try that one? Oh, Greg?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have seen a draft report that is to come to this committee, I'm going to assume in the month of June, regarding the status of the ongoing review of what will be the peer review of the function of the committee as sort of outlined in that motion. But I don't know. I can follow up with the committee through the clerk with correspondence on a more specific timeline, but the work is ongoing.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I'm disappointed. The motion that council passed said nothing about asking staff to prepare a report. I think I think the hope was that staff would post a notice for membership in this working group and ask the nominations committee to receive nominations. So I don't understand the purpose of the report that you are referring to.
Derek makes a comment as well.
So through you, Mr. Chair, I can provide some clarifying comments. So there will be a report coming to the May 21st City Council meeting whereby Council is asked to approve terms of reference for the Heritage Kingston Review Committee. So that will be posted to the city's website in the next day or two. So Don, you'd be able to find out some more details about timeframes and things like that. But it does require sort of that approval in terms of the terms and the scope and those type of things, just a formalization. So I can't unfortunately speak more to timeframe as to why, but just wanted to share that information that more info will be available very shortly.
And thirdly, Matthew, you had a question about the Frontenac Club work.
Just so everybody's in, noticed that there was some work that happened on a building that wasn't part of a permit application, and then I just wanted to see what the process was for bringing some accountability to the work that happened. And anyways, these guys are going to take care of it, I guess.
And Ryan, just to check you, as or if we see work that we have approved, at least which we've not approved, which is being done, you like a phone call straight away? Yeah. And please feel free to do that, because you know what you've approved, you know what you understood you approved, and just every so often you get people who read between the lines, shall we say, and do things a little bit differently. Let Ryan know right away. Any other business, new business there? The correspondence, you've seen the two letters from Ms. Shaw and LaRue. Do we need to do anything about them as such? Yeah, they're FYIs. As you know, there was a public session during that discussion, and it's we will leave it to them to follow up if need be. Next meeting, June 19, here, 9:30. Anybody want to jump in fast? No? Okay, thank you. Look at that, 10:29, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Doherty, she wants to get away, that's right. And got you back to Queens in time and everything. Seconder, those in favour? I guess everybody's in favour, very good. Good, thank you all for coming. And